I grew up on a dairy farm about 20 miles from here near Middle Ridge, Wisconsin. All of my siblings and myself, all 13 of us, went to small Catholic schools, one-room schoolhouses basically. Traveled around the world for a few years and found myself back in this area and went back into dairy farming as my parents did. About 20 years ago, during one of the many farm crises when we were going broke along with everybody else, I started to develop machinery for the recycling industry. And now am the owner of a company called Rotochopper that builds and manufactures and sells recycling equipment all over the world. Here you have a small rural town of about 3,000 or 4,000 people surrounded by just this idyllic agricultural countryside. But in it, you've got a cosmopolitan diversity of tastes and ideas and backgrounds that is very, very unique.
Well, I grew up in the metropolitan area around Washington, D.C. I'm the son of a classical musical lover. I studied music passionately as a child and left D.C. to study at the Cleveland Institute of Music, piano, composition. From there, I went to Germany on a Fulbright scholarship, developed a passion for composing music. I wanted to be a composer. After my first son was born, I won the Prix de Rome, and we lived in Rome for 2 years, and I was so fortunate to be selected as the first composer in residence at the Lyric Opera Chicago. They wanted a young composer to write an opera, while in residence, living and breathing the environment, and it was a wonderful experience. To survive, I had to develop a business. It was the bull market of '87. They were hiring anybody that looked, could wear a suit, and I talked my way into being a broker. Over the course of 10 years, I developed a practice, a financial planning practice, and worked those two together. Now I work from my studio, thecomposerstudio.com, at our property we call it Red Tail, and I'm able to write music for people all over the world. Frequently have commissions. One I had in Denmark and Chicago, Cleveland, and so I can write music here and play music here, and so it's kind of all been brought together here.
I'm originally from Chicago, and we moved here in 1995 because we wanted our children to go to Waldorf school. We wanted to be part of a rural community and live out in the country. My husband is an instructor at at Western Wisconsin Technical College in La Crosse. Well, I've been doing drama since I started directing plays when I was about 7 in the garage. And then I started taking creative dramatics in Chicago, part of the creative dramatics movement in the 70s with the work of Viola Spolin. And then in college, I majored in theater for a couple of years, and I ended up with my teaching degree and a minor in theater arts. And then I taught for a couple of years in the public schools, and then I had a family. I was really given a wonderful gift by the belief that the community had in me that I could take on a really big production when we did Ebenezer, which is a musical version of A Christmas Carol. And I had never directed a play that big before. People just said, well, Jane can do this, Jane can do this. And I thought, okay, I can do this. So wonderfully, beautifully, it came back into my life again. And it has transformed me, just as Waldorf education has transformed my children.
My husband and I have 2 daughters, and we've been living in Madison for 25 years or so. And when it came time for our oldest daughter to start school, we did sort of a tour of all the elementary schools in Madison, and we even looked at a lot of the schools in the outlying areas of Madison. And in the meantime, we had gotten very intrigued with Waldorf education, with the Waldorf model of education. And I went online and started researching where there were Waldorf schools in America. And lo and behold, one of the oldest, most well-established Waldorf schools in America was in Viroqua, Wisconsin. And so we decided that we were just going to sort of pick up our life in Madison and move to Viroqua so that our girls could go to the Pleasant Ridge Waldorf School. I'm a writer. I'm an advertising and a marketing copywriter, and my clients are all over the country. And so, fortunately, I'm able to do my work from almost anywhere, and I found a wonderful office space in a historic building in downtown Viroqua and sort of set up shop from here. And my clients have come to visit me here, and they're always, I think, a little surprised to find themselves in a town like Viroqua having a business meeting, but I think most people are rather impressed. And it's funny, I grew up in a really small town in Wisconsin, and I always said I would never move back to a small town. And so here I am with my family in a town roughly half the size of the little town I grew up in. But Viroqua is a really uncommon small town, and there is such a diversity of people here. People who have moved their families from San Francisco, from Atlanta, from Minneapolis, from Chicago, all of them coming to Viroqua so that their children can go to the Pleasant Ridge Waldorf School. And it's been a happy surprise that we've found ourselves in really such happy company here. I think we're very at home, and we joke with all of our friends back in Madison that it's only a matter of time before we get them to move here to Viroqua too.